Fabulous. Thank you. Right, let's get started. Well, good day, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join us for today's call. My name is Ira Gross from Crave Getaways Travel, and I'm really excited to have this opportunity to discuss a trip that we are hosting in July of 2026 on Avalon Waterways 2. This is a 128 passenger ship which will sail on the Rhone and the Saône rivers through Provence and Burgundy, France. We will get into more details, I promise, in just a few minutes, but stay with us for the entire presentation because we're offering an exclusive promotion on top of our already discounted pricing for everyone who participates on the Zoom call today. So for now, we just ask that everyone keeps their audio muted. I believe you're all muted as we speak, just to respect everyone else who's listening in. There will be an opportunity for Q&A at the end, so feel free to write your questions in the chat. We will address them at that time, and you'll also have the ability to be unmuted and at that time and ask questions. And if you know of anybody who may be interested in this opportunity, we are recording today's session. So the recording will be available in the next day or two to share. We'll pop it up on social media or just message me, and I'll ensure that you get the proper link to see the recording. And at this time, I'd like to introduce a very special guest we have this evening. Brian Ehlers is a business development manager for the Globus family of brands, and he's going to provide us with an overview of Globus products. But most importantly, he's going to spend some time talking about the Avalon Waterways difference and what makes Avalon so special. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Brian, and then I'll be back in a couple minutes to talk about the specific sailing that we're scheduled to experience together. Brian, thanks so much for joining us.
Of course. So, all right. Hello, everyone. So first, thank you so much for joining us this evening. As Ira already did, I want to formally introduce myself. I'm Brian Nailers. I work, as Ira mentioned, for the Globus family of brands, which includes Avalon Waterways. I am relatively new to the Globus family, only a few months old, but I'm not new to the travel industry. Just over 18 years I've been in travel. But just so we're all on the same page, if we do spark your interest this evening, or if it's already been sparked, you would book and work directly with Ira. Ira has just been gracious enough to include me virtually tonight to run through Avalon Waterways and what really differentiates us from other river cruises. And Ira will also show you a specific itinerary, as you mentioned, that we're both very excited about. So as I mentioned, this evening I'm zeroing in on Avalon Waterways, which is my new personal favorite way to travel. But we do also offer other brands, such as Globus and Cosmos. These are guided tours that we offer in 6 out of 7 continents. A great way to travel as well, especially if you've never been to a destination before. And I would be more than happy to go more into depth on these brands on another evening, if you have me back, of course, Ira. But without further ado, Avalon Waterways. I personally just returned from my first Avalon experience and just wow. I was aboard the Avalon Passion on the Danube River, sailing from Germany to Budapest, and did 2 pre-nights in Prague. It was seriously amazing. I saw 5 countries over the span of 10 days, and I only unpacked 1 time. I've been on other river cruises and on other brands, but Avalon seriously by far exceeded my expectations. And as you can see here, we have 77 different cruises on 12 rivers in 24 countries. Now, Avalon Waterways does offer more exotic river cruises as well in Asia and Africa, but for tonight's focus, I'll be spotlighting Europe, where most of our ships sail. And in Europe, we call these ships sweet ships, and you'll understand why in just a bit. But here's a list of the ships that we own, introducing a new one just about every year. And the rivers we sail on in Europe. I know it's small writing. Ira can send you more details after this presentation, but I don't want to bore you with too much reading, but you can easily see how much of Europe can be sailed through and visited with Avalon Waterways. And I'll get to what really differentiates Avalon from the other river cruises, but here's a quick look at some of the spaces on our suite ships. A much more modern look than most other river cruise ships, which in my opinion is very comforting. Each room, each lounge, each deck, each one you'll find a time of day to visit, whether you're, watching a sunset, enjoying a cocktail or a specialty coffee, or, just chatting with a new friend that you made on board. And again, I'll go more into depth about the river cruise themselves, but I want to talk first about perhaps the biggest differentiator that Avalon has to offer, and that's the cabins, or more specifically, the panorama suites. So for starters, all river cruise ships are limited as to the width to fit through the navigational locks throughout Europe. So if a balcony were to be placed on the outside of the stateroom, then you'd lose a minimum of, let's say, 30 square feet of space inside, which, to be completely honest, is a lot of space to lose. So our suites and staterooms, and they were specifically designed to maximize the guests' space and views during their cruise. Okay, and even with so much competition in the marketplace, Avalon offers some features that are truly unparalleled and make them really stand out. We really truly reinvented river cruise ships. So no other fleet offers you a view of the world like Avalon suite ships, featuring our award-winning panorama suites, 30% larger than the industry standard. They create river cruising's only open-air balcony with absolutely nothing between you and the view. We mastered the art of blending luxury with comfort, and now we've blurred the lines between the outside and the inside. And our menu of dining venues, it's just as diverse as the cruising cuisines that we serve. So whether guests are in the mood for the elegance of the glass-walled panorama dining room, the coziness of the panorama bistro, the breeziness of the sky grill, or the simple allure of room service in their panorama suite, we have the perfect table for you. And I do want to share a pretty cool video with you to show exactly what we did to these panorama suites, which I think it's really genius, but I'll give you the Cliff's Notes first. So first, we moved the bed 90 degrees. So the bed is facing the actual view. I mean, who wants to wake up facing a wall? But then we knocked out the balcony to give you a suite that's 30% larger than our competition. Now your entire room is a balcony. Also, no more wall on either side of the sliding glass door. We made the entire wall glass so your view is as large as it possibly can get. We even angled the bathroom in a way that makes that even larger as well. But let me start the video so you can see it firsthand.
The suite ships of Avalon, designed from the ground up with an attention to detail river cruising has never seen before. There's nothing quite like river cruising no matter who you cruise with, but there are some pretty big differences between companies, starting with how they look at staterooms. And our one-of-a-kind panorama suite is proof of our innovation, our imagination, and our desire to create a smarter use of space. To give you some perspective of how much better our staterooms are, we're comparing them to the average river cruise cabin. Here's the average window, roughly 7 feet wide, with an opening under 4 feet. Here's our window, nearly 11 feet wide, floor to ceiling, wall to wall. And when it opens, it really opens, wide enough to let the outside in, because the opening is a full 7 feet, almost twice the size of the others. It's the largest standard window in river cruising. Now, let's take a look at the bed of the average cabin. It faces the wall, not much to look at there. We had a much better idea. What if we angled the wall and turned the bed? That little change gives you the perfect perspective of the amazing views out your window. We then turned our attention to the balcony. Here's the average river cruise balcony. Seems like a nice idea, but as far as we can tell, there's not a lot of room for people to enjoy the views out there. And they had to take space from your stateroom to create that small deck space outside. So here's our better idea. Reclaim that space, push the window out, add a spacious dining and seating area for up to 6 adults, combine it with the largest sliding glass door in the business, and voila, you have an open-air balcony, the only one of its kind in river cruising, and you can enjoy it day and night, no matter the weather. Plus, you'll enjoy a lot more livable space, a full 200 square feet. We gave our room an attention to detail unmatched in the industry. We offer Comfort Collection beds, plenty of easily accessible storage, and we even added sound dampening insulation in our walls to make it less likely you'll hear your neighbors or they'll hear you. And we didn't stop with the room. We turned that same attention to detail to the bathroom. We took a look at the bathroom of the average ship and we knew we could do better. By angling the wall, we opened up more space in the bathroom. Then we took our newfound space and we made it luxurious. We have a large tile shower with glass doors, marble countertops, premium fixtures, L'Occitane bath amenities, and shelves to store all your necessities. And the best part is that there aren't just a couple of these staterooms on our ships, reserved for those who want to pay more. 80% of the staterooms on our suite ships are panorama suites. And once you leave your suite, you're likely to find fewer people on our suite ships. Because with our bigger staterooms, there is less capacity for passengers, which means more space everywhere you go. As you can see, more has gone into the amazing panorama suites, so you can get so much more out of them. We invite you to compare, and you'll see there's no comparison.
All right, so as you can see by that video, you do get a considerable amount more room in your panorama suite, but I also did want to share what a deluxe stateroom looks like as well. Still a beautiful room and cozy, but of course you don't get the view that you would with the panorama suites, which again make up 80% of our rooms. Hence the reason we really, I wanted to spotlight them significantly. And here's a list of some additional features that each one of our suite ships has to offer. I'll let you read through them, but what I want to bring to your attention is the complimentary Wi-Fi. Now, that may not sound that luxurious, but I was shocked at how good the Wi-Fi actually is. So each ship does have 2 Starlinks to make it that much better. Again, Wi-Fi may not sound like the deal breaker, but nowadays it's become a very important selling point. So whether you're breaking the rules and checking in on work emails on your vacation, or even better example, you're staying in touch with your kids or grandkids, bragging to them via FaceTime on how amazing your panorama suite is. And just a few more differentiators on Avalon Waterways. We offer unlimited beer, wine, and soft drinks, all included with your meal service, giving guests the opportunity to sample some amazing local spirits right in the country where the grapes were grown. And this is for all lunches and dinners, and sprinkling a mimosa for breakfast. I mean, come on, you're on vacation, right? And then there's the daily complimentary happy hour. Every day this is offered, and it's a full bar for 1 hour included before dinner every evening, with a special cocktail the bartender chooses each evening, which I have to say is always a fan favorite. All right, and here's a couple of different ways to cruise. Avalon Choice offers Avalon guests with a variety of active, discovery, and classic excursions, and onboard activities each day to go your own way. So whether you want to walk in the footsteps of legends, bike down the street like a local, or hike through a postcard-like settings, Avalon's selection of included daily outings and optional excursions really give you the chance to personalize your vacation. The cruise that I personally experienced was an active discovery, and it was really nice to get up each morning and have the opportunity to go for a hike or join the bike tour, just to get a little exercise in before the day really started. Avalon Active and Discovery, it's an exciting type of cruise that introduces you to people and places of Europe in the most engaged and fun ways imaginable. I mean, it's really the old world in a whole new way, and these are truly unique to Avalon. And this has brought passengers 5 years younger than the average Avalon cruiser to Avalon. And aboard each one of our active and discovery sailings in Europe, our adventure posts are available. They spend their time helping you explore discoveries on and off the ship. Guests can check out one of the 16 bikes on board, all of our ships for a scenic ride through town. You can grab a Nordic walking stick and hike to hillside vineyards or a castle, or enjoy the fitness or strength and conditioning class, including yoga on the sky deck or in the panorama lounge. Excuse me. And I know I already mentioned the Starlink Wi-Fi, which I found incredible. And just like Globus and Cosmos, Avalon also has the Avalon Go mobile app. you'll have the information on local eateries, shopping, sightseeing, and more right in the palm of your hand. Avalon Go also gives you directions, so you'll never lose your way while losing yourselves in a new place. And it'll tell you how to get back to the ship, which is obviously very important. And lastly, before I hand you over to Ira, these are specific itineraries that we also have our special interest cruises. Sorry, I tickle my throat. As you can see here, there's really something for everybody. And Ira, of course, can speak to you more about these and different topics that are passions to you. And that's what makes the Avalon difference. Ira, though, you can take it away from here.
Ryan, thank you so much. That was really a great intro. I totally appreciate it. Sorry you had the little tickle there, but it's all good. It's all good. So now the technology comes where I'm going to try to share my part of the presentation. Hopefully I don't mess it up. Here we go. We practiced this, so let's see. Here we go. Share first. Okay. I think we're good. Brian, we ready? Am I good?
All set. Yep,
I
that's
think
good.
so. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this specific sailing that Crave Getaways is hosting. We're so excited. Hopefully, some of you will join us. Hopefully, maybe you have some friends that may want to join us as well. So we're going to go through it day by day. I'm not going to hit every little piece, but we're going to do enough to give you a taste of what you might experience, even with the excursions that are scheduled to take place each and every day. We'll also talk at the end about an optional pre-extension in Nice for 2 nights prior to the cruise, and then there's also a post-cruise extension to Paris and Beaune, actually Beaune and Paris, for 2 nights as well. So that's an optional piece too. We can discuss that as well. All right, July 21st to 28th. Those are the cruise dates. We are going to go from Arles, France to Chalon-sur-Saône. We set sail on the 21st for a wondrous journey along the Rhone and the Saône rivers through Burgundy and Provence. We actually start in Provence, and it's a northbound passage, so we're going to go from Provence north to Burgundy. This region is known for its award-winning wines. Provence is the oldest wine-producing region in France and is responsible for the majority of the French rosés known for their crisp, dry taste. Artists such as Van Gogh, Cézanne, and Pablo Picasso lived and worked here in this area, and made many of their paintings in these cities instantly recognizable. The time of year we're going is going to be perfect for the lavender fields and the sunflowers. So they're typically the June to August timeframe. We're going to be there right in the middle in July. I have not been on this sailing yet. I'm so excited to do it, and hopefully with all of you. And I really want to see those lavender fields and sunflowers because I love to do photography. Should be fun. Um, this is also one of the sunniest regions on the planet that averages 300 sunny days a year. It may be hot, it may be beautiful weather, but we know it's going to be pretty sunny during this journey. So the left-hand side of here, this is the map of where we're going to do. We start in Arles, we're going to end in Chalon-sur-Saône. We're going to talk about each of these cities in a moment, but what I want to do is reiterate something Brian has already said. River cruises, and if any of you have done ocean cruises before, you're going to see a difference here. A river cruise includes a whole lot more, which creates so much more value, right? So as Brian said, there's the beer, wine, and soft drinks at lunch and dinner. There is a happy hour that takes place around 5 p.m. each day. They started that a couple years ago. We were one of the first groups to have it on our Rhine cruise, and then last year we were on the Danube. So that is really awesome. There's a 1 hour happy hour that is, mixed drinks. It's not everything on their menu, but it's drinks, it's beer, it's wine, soft drinks. So it's really, really wonderful. Obviously, you're having spectacular, spectacular meals. In this case, they're talking about four-course a la carte dinners. I have to tell you, sometimes the meals are so good I've asked for seconds. Not joking. Um, Sightseeing is included. That's something also that you don't get on an ocean cruise, right? You're going to get anywhere between 1 to 3 tours per town that you're in daily. Sometimes you may even have an opportunity to get 2 in during the course of a day. Complimentary bikes. There are typically 16 bicycles and 2 e-bikes on board, uh, and they are available to take out at any time unless they're being used for an organized tour. So you just take them out. So let's say you have a morning excursion and you come back and you want to know what to do during the afternoon, you may want to just borrow some bikes. No charge, all included. In the evenings, they have local entertainment. Sometimes it might be a quartet. Sometimes they'll be playing pop music. Sometimes I've seen it where they have a movie on board. So it is low key. It's not big time, New York Broadway entertainment, but it's really nice and it really works very well after a long day out touring in a beautiful town. Don't have to touch on the Wi-Fi again, but all I will say is from 2023 to 2024, it was an immense improvement. When they went to Starlink last year, it was the best move they could have had because in 23 we did have some challenges. 24 there are absolutely none. All right, so let's get into the actual day by day itinerary. So you're going to decide you're going to board your flight. We highly recommend that you don't get there the day of, right? Leave the night before and get there the day of. It's best to leave an extra day on the front end just in case you have any flight issues. If you obviously choose the 2 pre-nights in Nice, then you're coming earlier anyway. But even if you're not, that's a recommendation. Otherwise, you definitely can get there that day. And if you book airfare through Avalon, they include the transfers as well. It's You fly into Marseille, and it's about a 1-hour transfer to Arles, and that's where we're going to start. So you get there day one, and you don't have anything really organized on the very first day. You're going to get to your stateroom. You're going to relax, and you may want to walk around Arles. They say you need to be there by 5 p.m. But the real good news is you're going to be overnighting at Arles. You're going to have the opportunity to be in the hometown or the home area of Van Gogh, and we're going to be there. A lot of times you'll see we're going to be overnighting, so it'll be really cool. Arles itself was originally built by the Romans, and there's the largest outdoor amphitheater outside of Rome's Colosseum in Arles. They still use it for concerts and bullfights there. And it's really from what I understand, again, I haven't been on this particular cruise, but from what I understand, it's one of the best cities to just wander around, eat, and enjoy some of the local outdoor cafes in all of Europe. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's see what else there is. So we then go to day 2. Again, we are in Arles. And our first set of formal activities. So this is an active discovery and classic sailing. So you have different options. And what we see here is if you want to do the active, you can do a power walk with the adventure host in Arles. Or you may decide you want to do a discovery excursion where you're going to learn about Van Gogh's artwork and get an opportunity to actually paint your own Van Gogh style painting. Or you may want to do, and this is always one of my favorites, is just to do the classic excursion. Take a guided walking tour. In this case, it's in Arles. Visit the captivating city. You'll get to visit the Roman amphitheater that I mentioned. And then you're going to have time. Then it's not like you're touring all day on these. For the most part, sometimes you have full day tours with Avalon. Other times it might be a half day, which gives you a whole lot more time to just roam around on your own and use that app and get lost on your own. So that is something you could do. And then we're going to leave, and we're going to head on over to Avignon, where we will ultimately overnight. Avignon is a perfectly preserved medieval walled city. This was actually the seat of the Catholic Church for a time in the 14th century. It has what's known as the Palace of the Popes. It was at one point considered the Vatican of France, and the historic center of Avignon is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I love going to UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Visit to the ancient Rome. You can visit the ancient Roman aqueduct of Pont de Garde, and this is all going to be part of our possible excursions. You'll have an opportunity to possibly visit the wine cellars of Chateau Neuf de Pape, and we are going to be overnighting here in Avignon. So this is what it looks like. Avignon gives you an opportunity to, it'll be a classic excursion that day, to visit the fortress city of Avignon and the Palace of the Popes. You also have the opportunity to do optional excursions. So mostly everything is included in river cruises. Every once in a while, there are a few excursions that are available at a nominal cost. Guided optional excursion, in this one, you can actually go to see Pont de Garde, or you could take a trip to Chateau Neuf de Pape for a true taste of the Rhone wine region. There's so much to do in this area, in this region, and as I mentioned, you're going to be overnighting here as well. And you can see that there's live entertainment. They usually put that on most of these slides because it's true. There's always something going on. Then on day 4, we head to Viviers. And this is a charming French country village. It's perfect for touring on foot since distances between the sites are really manageable and the layout is so easy to navigate. Isn't that beautiful? Really is a pretty, pretty site. And of course, there's these hilltop views. So you can enter the town through the walls and you can follow the narrow lanes all the way to the top. So what are we doing that day? You could do exactly that. You could go with your adventure host and make your way up to Viviers Hilltop Cathedral. You can do a classic excursion through explore the pale stone buildings of Viviers on a guided walk, where you'll see the Romanesque cathedral and the old town. And then everybody later in the day gets a discovery experience on board where you get to taste some local specialties aboard the ship. We will then overnight over to Tain-l'Hermitage. And Tain-l'Hermitage and Tournon are right beside each other. And here you may take a morning walking tour, to explore Tournon, one of France's oldest medieval cities, to see the 16th century castle, Roman ruins between the Rhone River and the granite slopes of Hermitage. So here that is. You could do either a walking tour that day, or you can actually hike up by foot and do a morning hike along the Rhone, because we're going to be doing the Rhone and then the Saône. In the early afternoon, we're all going to reboard, and we are going to Lyon for an overnight. So here's Lyon. And Lyon is known as the culinary capital of France, where chefs go to train. The old town has its maze of medieval alleyways with live cafes, monuments. There's a basilica, the Basilica of Notre Dame of Fourvière is a beautiful church with amazing art, stained glass and architecture, and amazing views of the city. That is that. And then what we could see is we could take a look here, and you can do an active excursion by bike if you'd like. And you can see the architectural district by bike, or you could take a classic excursion by doing a guided tour of Lyon from Fourvière Hill with the churches that we discussed and so on. And then when you're done, there's that opportunity, of course, just to hop on a bike or walk through town, go check out the bridges along the banks of the Rhone and the Saône, and then we will board again, and we're going to sail to Tournou as we approach day 7. And day 7 is, we're going to get to Tournou, and it's just beautifully, beautifully situated along the river with its castle and monuments. It has terraced vineyards and spectacular panoramas surrounding the entire town. This area, as we've now made our way north, if you remember that map, is known for its Chardonnays. So why not travel to learn more about the famous Chardonnay vineyards and you will be able to attend a wine tasting as you're learning about the wines in the cellar of a real medieval castle. I think I'm going to be doing that one. It sounds great. Uh, or there's another. Everyone will then head back later on and have a cheese tasting as well on board. So this day, if everything stays the same, and these tours, these excursions are subject to change somewhat, but usually they're pretty steady. Uh, Everyone will have the opportunity to do the discovery together, and then get back on board and have a cheese tasting on board while sailing to our final stop, which will be Chalon-sur-Saône. And we'll be overnighting that evening in Chalon-sur-Saône, and then that is the end of the main part of the cruise. Again, we'll talk in a minute about the extension at the end, but that is the main part. So, what I thought would be fun at this point is to kind of put aside the standard photos. These have all been really beautiful photos of what we have on the itinerary specifically from Avalon. Now you can see some of my photos. I don't have too many, but what I want to kind of show you is the types of things you might see on a cruise um, that that an amateur like myself has taken photos. So embarkation, super easy. This is my wife Sue walking on board in 2023. We had just arrived. The gentleman in front of her just greeted us, took our bags. We walked right on the ship. There's no line. There was no one waiting. They just asked for IDs when we got on, and they brought us right to our room. And I think within 2 minutes, we were literally in our room and ready to go. What you see, those bottom three photos are just are the actual sun deck. And what I think is super cool that I love to see when this happens. It doesn't happen often, but on the bottom left photo, you see the bridge. That's where the captain does his thing, of course. And because you are going through low bridges and so on, there are times where that bridge where it actually just sinks right down into the floor of the sun deck. They have it, and then they actually um, skipper it. They actually captain it off to the side because they can't keep that bridge up that high when they go through certain areas. I thought that was super cool. Locks. Brian, I'm sure you saw plenty of locks when you were on your cruise. And my two cruises that I've been on so far on Avalon, we saw plenty of locks too. Engineering marvel, so much fun. I try not to miss them unless I'm sleeping, and I miss them. But all different types of locks that you go through, and just to see it happen is absolutely fascinating. If you haven't seen it before, this is a great opportunity to do so. Here is our panorama suite in 2023. It was stateroom 214, and there is my wife Sue. She is in the lock, waving to me as we are waiting for the water to recede, so that we can make our way down to the lower level of the next part of this particular river. This was on the Rhine. Afternoon tea, happy hour. There is an afternoon tea. There is a happy hour, as we said. That's somewhere around 5 p.m. And it's just great cuisine. Cruising on the river, these are the types of things you're going to see. You're going to see castles. This woman in the top right had no idea I took the picture. I don't even know who she is, but I had to do it. I just thought this was really neat. And the beauty of what you see here, I'm sure we're going to see when we are traveling on the Rhone and the Saône as well. Here we are again, enjoying ourselves as we're going right down the Rhine. And you may just visit some villages where you can get some ice cream and all that. Look at the great, charcuterie and everything else. And it's educational. I learned so much. So this happened to be the Black Forest. We're obviously not going to the Black Forest on this France trip, but this was the Black Forest in Germany. You learn about their culture. We obviously had some Black Forest cake that was yummy. And then this was Strasbourg, France as well. And absolutely beautiful place, really, really nice. And this must have been very early on in the hike that I did with the adventure host, because I ended up dripping wet hiking up the vineyard from the boat up through the vineyard, up to a monument at the top, and it was a tough one, but it was really cool. And at the very end, we came back down and we went to a Riesling shop where we sampled some really nice Rieslings. Cologne, this is Cologne, and of course, educational, historical. We took a Jewish history tour that Avalon put on. It was fascinating. And this is Amsterdam, and we see little Anne Frank there as well. So, what does this all mean? Hopefully, you are interested in all this, but really, what does this mean for us, right? We're going in July of 2026, July 21st. We talked about where we're going. It's a 128 passenger boat. The first 2 years, our boat was 166 passengers. This one is 128. And what is it? So first of all, pricing. Just we'll put it out there right away. You get so much for your money, and for us, you're going to be getting so much more. We'll talk about that in a second. But it is really a great, great value. So those deluxe staterooms, not the panoramas, the deluxe staterooms that Brian showed you, they start on our sailing at $34.30 per person. That's category D and E. If you want to upgrade, here are the prices. Those prices are for the panorama suites that Brian showed you. These prices include a savings of $3,000 per couple. So that is priced into that already. What we are including as well is free prepaid gratuities, only with Crave Getaways. So you get free prepaid gratuities. We talked all about the other inclusions already. These numbers here include your port charges, and only requires a $250 deposit per person. Final payment is not due till April of next year. So you have plenty of time for that. It's just the $250 per person, and so on. We're going to talk in a second when we get to the next slide about an additional little promotion we're throwing in there. But let's talk for a second about the pre-nights and the post-nights. If anybody would like to extend the trip, if they want to come in early and they want to go to Nice and see the French Riviera in the middle of the summer, you're welcome to do so. There's 2 extra nights. You can do it. It's $959 a person. It includes the hotel. It includes a tour, which includes Nice in the old city, and it would include your transfer from your hotel to the ship. That is that. If you fly in with Avalon Air and you use their air, they will also include the transfers to the hotel as well. And then on the post-cruise side of things, there's another 2 nights, and those other 2 nights are for to Paris. But what I think is really great about this, and I touched on it before, not only is it Paris, but when you disembark on the ship, you are going to go first to Beaune, where you're going to pick up a train. Beaune is a place I've always wanted to go to. And we're going to go to Beaune and have a tour in Beaune before we get on the train. So we'll get to tour Beaune. We'll get to see the beautiful town, hop on a train, and then make our way to Paris. And then from Paris, we'll have 2 nights in Paris, and another tour is included in Paris. You have a lot of time on your own, but you also have tours in each of those cities. So that's what that's about. We're super, super excited about it. And I have one more slide, I think. I do. So we talked about some of the great inclusions that we have, and so on. But what we didn't mention is, if you decide that this is something for you, we have 2 weeks. We have from now until September 24th. And the prices you saw are already discounted, as we noted, of $3,000 per couple. But we're also going to throw in an additional $50 off per guest, $100 per couple, if you deposit and if you make that $250 deposit by September 24th. I have a special promotion that we're including with Avalon. And if you decide to book with us and deposit by September 24th, we'll throw in an additional $100 per couple. Hopefully that's enticing to you. We really hope that all of you are going to join us, or some of you at least are going to join us on this exciting adventure through Burgundy and Provence in July of 2026. And with that, I am going to go to the next slide. And you know what? I'm going to probably have to stop sharing, Brian, unless you're going to tell me if there are any questions in the chat. Otherwise, we could open it up and unmute people.
Yep, I don't see any in the chat right now, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Thank
Does
you,
anybody have any
Brian.
questions?
Yes, I do.
Hey,
Hi,
Richard.
Ira. Hi, Brian. Thank you so much for such an interesting, exciting overview. It's very, very exciting. I have a question that you probably can't answer, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but you're not responsible for global warming. But what happens when this was a perfect year in Europe? I mean, the weather was perfect everywhere in Europe, and it's still perfect. But in a year where there's flooding and there's too much water, or a year where there's not enough water, what happens?
Great question.
So, go ahead.
Brian,
You
you
can
want
take
to
it,
take it or
Art.
do you want me to take it?
I can take it if you want. So very rarely does that happen. But of course, can't control the weather, right? But there are times where a ship cannot get through a certain place because there's too much water, like you're saying with flooding, right? So times like those, you would have to get off of the ship and perhaps get on a coach bus and go to the next port where you would have to take another ship. And it's one of those like, kind of seat pants, a day at a time. But yeah, we do have we do have fixes for those things. But of course, like you said, we don't control the weather, but those things have happened in the past where you do have to jump on a coach bus and maybe do a tour or two, day or two, depending on the situation, and then you would get back on another ship.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
absolutely.
And Richard, I could just give you an example that exactly happened to us last year in 2024. We were supposed to embark in Wilshofen, Germany, and we couldn't. That was the starting point. And instead, they brought us to Passau, and Passau was where we started. So we actually didn't miss anything at all. So they were good at actually making up, getting us to the place, doing our tours, and moving on. You have to hope you don't have the water levels aren't too high. You have to hope the water levels aren't too low, right? You don't know what's happening with global warming nowadays. Last year there was too much rain, and that's why we had to kind of divert our starting point. But it does happen, and Avalon does a really good job at moving people around to make sure that they don't miss hopefully too much, if anything at all. Great question. Any other
And
questions?
and you definitely weren't being a Debbie Downer, Richard. I totally understand where you're coming from.
Well, I've never been on a river cruise. We were on a cruise last year to New Zealand and Australia, and I have to say that we're not big boat people, to tell you the truth. I mean, it was not a huge big boat, but there are other problems, when you go across the Tasman Sea or around New Zealand, you have plenty of water, but it can be very rough. So you're screwed if you are, you're screwed if you aren't, whatever. But I would say that a lot of our family and friends have been on these cruises, and we've heard these stories, and no one ever sort of said, oh my God, this is such a terrible experience. They thought it was kind of adventurous and exciting, and they got on with where they needed to go. I wasn't saying it criticized, I just wanted to know, being stuck in a hotel room with Sue and Ira would be perfectly fine with us.
Yeah. No, and speaking personally, I've never personally been an ocean cruiser, and I'm not bad mouthing it in the slightest. It definitely has its place, and plenty of people love them. But some people just aren't boat people. But what's great about river cruises too is you always see land on each side. It's a river. It's not that big, right? But it's also, smooth sailing. And what I said at the very beginning of the presentation, it's my new favorite way of traveling. I'm not just being salesy. I really mean it. It was fantastic seeing 5 countries in 10 days, and you only unpack that once.
Avalon are very lucky to have you, and a big warm welcome
Yeah,
to
thank you
the
very much.
company. The other question I had is, I have been told by a number of people that the food on board is very, very good, not just because of people that we know who have been on Avalon, but also if Sue Greenbaum told me, Sue Groves told me to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge, I would do that because you can trust everything she says. When she says the food's good, the food is very, very good.
Do
Um,
not jump off.
but exactly. But what I want to say is that because everything is included and the food is supposed to be very, very good, right? Um, you don't really have the opportunity of eating in the local restaurants, do you? Because most people would want to eat on board, correct?
So you do and you don't. Sorry, I'm sorry if I'm stepping on your toes, Ira, but I'm going to take this one. So thank you very much for saying that, and you're absolutely right. Where I love the food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And what was great about the cruise that I personally went on, the tours were and excursions and all were fantastic because everything was timed perfectly. Where you're back on ship for lunch, and then after lunch you do another tour, and then you're back on for dinner. It's all included on Avalon. And what's great too is when I remember getting off the ship a number of times, the chef and a couple of his guys are right behind me, and they're going into town and getting some local foods to bring back on the ship. So that's the first part. Second is remember, yes, it's all included. Frankly, you've already paid for it, so why not even ship? But you don't have to. As long as the ship's not leaving, have lunch on land. And really, it's a few euro here, a few euro there. It's worth it every once in a while just to try. If you're in Germany, you got to try the sausage. If you're here, so you're definitely given that opportunity to. But yes, you are right, and thank you for mentioning that. The food is exquisite. I was, clean plate club every night.
Now, and the last question I have is really, and Ira, please do not laugh at me, but I would like to know what the water pressure like is on the boat.
I have been on two of them, and the water pressure has been perfect. Nothing. It wasn't. Yeah, there was no like low water pressure. I don't know about you, Brian, but it the bathrooms were amazing. You couldn't even tell from that photo, by the way. They're big for a cruise ship, and they're really nice. And the water pressure was always perfectly fine. I had in my both of our sailings, I had no issues whatsoever.
I'll agree with Ira and Richard. Also, another fantastic question. I know it sounded silly at first, but really, my wife's also in the travel industry, and I remember FaceTiming her from my panorama suite and saying to her that exact thing is that the water pressure is better than our shower at home. So no complaints whatsoever. And really, and Ira said, I said it too during, how we angled the bathrooms so they're a little bit larger. I thought it was great.
And I have two more questions. I'm sorry, Ira and Brian, but
Keep-
Not at all.
don't invite me
Richard, this is
next.
great.
Don't invite me next time,
No,
Ira.
you're doing
Um,
great. Thank you.
the next question I have is it better to have a room away from the main areas so that it's not as noisy, or is that a kind of old wives' tale?
Let me take this one. Um, the ship is really small, and you have 128 passengers. You could walk from one end from the one end, which happens to be where the lobby is. That's where the rooms start to the back, and you could in 90 seconds you're through, right? Um, some people say don't take a room right next to the lobby area, perhaps if you can avoid it. Other people have said it was perfect and they loved it. It's not extremely loud. You don't have a lot of people. The only time people are really gathering at that point is when everybody's leaving at 8 o'clock in the morning anyway to go to their tour. So you're really not hearing. And the rooms are, I believe, the rooms are soundproof anyway. I think that was discussed in the video. We never heard a thing, and we've been on the second floor, which is the middle level, and we've been on the third floor, which is the top, and it didn't matter. We were in the middle of the ship, but other people told me they didn't hear a thing.
Okay,
We're
so my
close.
last question is not because I watched Dr. Odyssey or anything, but I would like to know, is there a doctor on board, or what happens if somebody doesn't feel well?
Do you want to take that, Brian, or should I? do my best.
You can do your best. I'm pretty sure there's someone. And remember, it's a river cruise. It's not an ocean cruise. So you're always so close to land that any
Right.
kind of emergency.
The French health system is very good. It's free, so you can get
Right.
it. It's not a problem. But I was just curious, do you have a first aid kit on board, or
Oh, yes,
They-
of course. So
what
those
happens,
things.
Ira, if I get a boo-boo cutting my croissant in the morning?
you will have band-aids, and I'm sure there's even an AED, God forbid, but there's not a doctor on board. Literally, you could swim to land. Anybody could swim to land at virtually any time. It's that close. You're right there. The pictures that I showed are accurate. The pictures that were shown, so they could always get people to medical professionals in an extremely quick time.
I'm not trying to turn this into death on the Nile. I just wanted to ask. Sorry, that's all.
No,
No,
not at
it's a great
all.
question. It's a great question, and I appreciate that. Um, there's there is not, and I looked into that as well because someone asked me that once before. There's not a doctor on board, but there you are so close to you're at land, you're there, so it shouldn't be any issues wherever we're sailing.
And are things on board? It's all fully included, but do you buy things on board? And if there are things to buy on board, or extras, or a gift shop, or whatever, is that in euros, or is that in dollars?
That would be in euros, but to be completely honest with you, there is no gift shop. Frankly, it's not that, it's not large enough for that. So you can purchase things on board, like a hat, a water bottle, that sort of stuff. But you don't have a
Okay.
huge gift shop with magnets and sweatshirts and all the things.
No, I
Just because
wasn't
it's not.
suggesting that. I just
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Good.
But I mean, you remember, every port that you stop at, it's like going to a million gift shops, right?
Yeah, and
So
you could exchange money on the ship, I believe, if you'd like to as well. We usually use credit card, but you can do that as well.
You'll be pleased to know, Ira and Brian, I have no more questions. Thank you.
if you
We
think of
love
any
these
more,
questions.
feel free to speak up. No, they were great questions, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions at all?
Besides Richard. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, if we don't, we can conclude, and I just want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. We really do appreciate it. Brian, of course, thank you again for joining us. If there's interest, please reach out to me. Hopefully, you all know how to do so. River Rendezvous, Facebook.com/River Rendezvous 26 is one way to reach me. Obviously, travel@cravegetaways.com is my email address. Otherwise, I think you should know how to reach me because you got here today. And we hope that you will sign on and join us as we host our River Rendezvous 2.0, as we're calling it, through Provence and Burgundy. And with that, I think we'll conclude for the evening, unless there are any other last minute questions. Fabulous. Well,
Ça c'était un bon discours. Je vous souhaite bon remercier et à la semaine prochaine. Au revoir.
Merci beaucoup.
De rien. Merci, vous
De
êtes
rien.
très gentil. Au revoir.
Au revoir. À bientôt.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.